What's good, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the Sus Edwards Fantasy Football Show. Boy, that's a bit of a mouthful sometimes. Mouthful, mouthful. Pause. It's your boy Sus Edwards. Today we're getting into the running back dead zone. Sorry it's been a minute since I made my last video. Life stuff is happening. I actually recorded this video about a week ago. The quality was, I could really only describe it with words that would hurt me in the algorithm if I said them this early. So let's not waste too much time. Let's jump into it. The running back dead zone this year, running back dead zone year in, year out is a concept that waves and ebbs and flows. One year it could be round three, round four, historically. This year it's a little bit later, though. And I think we're going to get into some names that you're going to want to avoid. I've had to update some of the data for the last few weeks since I made the outline for this video. And we're going to be hitting you guys with videos every single day for the rest of August, hot and heavy, fast and heavy, I meant to say, but it could be hot too. It could be as hot as you want it to be, however it makes you feel. Let's get into it, guys. Isaiah Pacheco, the first running back. Now, you're seeing off the rip this ADP range. This is the beginning of the running back dead zone, in my estimation. Now, when I talk about the running back dead zone, I'm talking about running backs that have projectable volume, but these guys kind of stink, okay? And there is a little bit of Isaiah Pacheco buzz going on right now. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it as far as I can throw it, okay? Isaiah Pacheco, ADP of 71.1 at the moment. The dude's never factored into the pass game, okay? This is not a special talent. He's a fine talent. He's not a special talent. He fractured his fibula last year. It's a serious injury. Now, it sounds like he's gotten some of that juice back. We'll see if that sustains, okay? The dude's never been a truly long speed, explosive running back. He's kind of just a two-down grinder with a replaceable two-down grinder skill set. Now, the reason he seems like the entrenched starter today is because Kareem Hunt and Elijah Mitchell are his primary competition, veteran competition, that is. And they're terrible. Like, Kareem Hunt is the epitome of washed, and Elijah Mitchell hasn't been healthy in 4 years. So, yeah, Isaiah Pacheco might look good in August before getting hit compared to those guys, okay? Rashard Smith could pose an interesting threat as a Tyrone Tracy type bet later in the season, but it seems like he's still a bit of a ways away. I don't think this team is necessarily done and finished with their running back room as is. They're super live to add a name, in my opinion. The Chiefs like to pass a bit in the red zone as well, so it's like a what do you win when you win with this guy. At the end of the day, Isaiah Pacheco, he is a two-down grinder, fragile bet. I just don't really see the crazy upside. I would rather address running back earlier with better talents, with more solidified roles, or I'm going to wait, absorb some of the wide receiver values in this range, and just attack a bit of a more ambiguous running back or a backup running back later who has a chance to break out that doesn't cost me as much. So I get it if you really want to get some early season production and you have a bit more conviction in Isaiah Pacheco, the talent, fine, go for it. But I would still try to push it 2 rounds after ADP. It's probably not going to happen in your league. I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with you not getting Isaiah Pacheco this year. Caleb Johnson, maybe a more talented player than Isaiah Pacheco if things work out, but bit of a raw talent, it sounds like, in Steelers camp right now. Sounds like he's getting his work cut into a little bit by Kenneth Gainwell even, let alone Jalen Warren, the established, efficient vet, efficient when he's been healthy, which by all accounts, Jalen Warren is healthy right now. Steelers' offensive line has concerns. Aaron Rodgers doesn't always love rookies, especially if they don't do things the right way. And that's not to say Caleb Johnson isn't going about becoming a pro the right way, but there's not every rookie walks in and is Ashton Genty. Some guys have some work to do. There's a reason why Caleb Johnson's stock fell from what felt like a early round 2 pick early in the draft process to round 3. I think Caleb Johnson, his pass game profile leaves a little bit to be desired. Jalen Warren could be the lead back, and he goes a few rounds after Caleb Johnson. I think arguably their ADPs should flip. Not saying that Jalen Warren should go as high as 76, maybe pick 80. But I think Caleb Johnson should go a little later. This is a slow offense. This is not supposed to be a high-scoring offense. And if it's a three-way pie, even if Kenneth Gainwell's piece of the pie is only like 10 or 15%, That's still taking out 10 or 15% from the other two guys. So it's not to say that Kenneth Gainwell will have standalone value, but once you start getting into three-way pie situations, kind of reminds me of like Denver last year, where it's like, well, you didn't really win anything with any of those guys because you just got spread too thin. Aaron Jones. Now, Aaron Jones is a great player, but he's no spring chicken. He's getting up there in age. It's his age 30 and 31 season. And the fact of the matter is they added a better rusher to this team in Jordan Mason. I expect this to be a pretty much 50-50 committee at best for Jones, barring injury. And I think there's a possibility that Mason usurps him and ends up getting more work than Jones. I don't think the plan for the Vikings is to load up Aaron Jones with significant touches like they did last year. I think that got away from them a bit with how terrible Ty Chandler was and really not having another backup on the team. They go out and get Jordan Mason. Now, they did improve their offensive line, so that is bullish for Jones's efficiency. But some of his advanced metrics were not that great in terms of evaded tackles, broken tackles. His goal line rushing rate was terrible in terms of his efficiency of punching it in at the goal line. So Jordan Mason's going to be the goal line back primarily for this team. And, you know, I think this offense will be good with J.J. McCarthy, so I'm not really worried about, anyone having those type of concerns. But for a guy with a history of soft tissue injuries, I would take him around after ADP, but we're starting to get into black marble season. You pull the black marble and this guy's cooked. That could happen at some point this season. Not saying it will, but it's in the range of outcomes. I would rather just bet on Jordan Mason if both are on the board. And that's how I'm playing that situation. So if you get him in like the 90s, the early to mid 90s, fine. But otherwise, I'm not doing it. Brian Robinson. Now, this doesn't hit quite as hard on August 21st as it did about a week or two ago when I made this. Brian Robinson has been a do not draft for me all summer. My underdog exposure on him is 2%, which means technically I did draft him. But, sometimes you really needed a running back. But he's functionally been a do not draft for me. Underdog ADP now of 89.9. He had been going in the early 80s, and I just really didn't get it because it seemed pretty clear to me if you were following the Commanders beat reporter drumbeat like a virgin, like I was. And now, if you had a life, you probably didn't know all this stuff was going on with Brian Robinson, but clearly I don't have one. So this is why I'm here to tell you. Brian Robinson, this was bound to happen. Okay, this was an inevitability. Shout out Nick Bocklage, Quad Box on his YouTube channel. I discussed how Brian Robinson is a massive bench risk. About a month ago, I said Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is my main target for August. And a week ago, I said he should be ranked in the top 110. At that point, I don't think anyone else had him in the top 150. I'm telling you, man, Bill's coming. Okay, Bill's coming, and he's already came. Pause. He's come for Brian Robinson's career as far as a Washington Commander goes. It's over for Brian Robinson. We'll see what landing spot he gets. At this point, he could go to Miami. He could go to any number of places. But the thing is, some places are a lot better than others. Okay, if he goes to the Bears, that's great. If he goes to the Dolphins, okay, with that offensive line and how pedestrian he is, it's like, is he even better than Ollie Gordon? Maybe not. I don't know. Brian Robinson is the epitome of just a guy. He's a fine player. But now that he's not, a lot of these points I made were when it seemed like he was still going to be the Commanders' starting running back. He's not. He's not going to be on the team. Okay. So now the bet goes from, okay, this guy lost his job to a 7th-round rookie. Now, I think it's a bit of a fake 7th-round rookie. I think JCM is a lot more talented than your average 7th-round rookie. But functionally, we have a player who is going to fall like a rock. There's no situation he's going to go to where he is the unquestioned lead back like he has been the last few years in Washington. It's a massive downgrade. He could go to a situation that makes him like a 130 ADP guy. He could go to a situation that makes him like a 180 ADP guy. With how many good quarterbacks go here, how many good tight ends go here, a couple interesting receivers still, and even some potential starters like Tyrone Tracy and Jalen Warren. There's literally no point in taking Brian Robinson right now. He shouldn't be on your board. You shouldn't consider him, and let him fall like a rock. Let someone else take him. Travis Etienne, this has been a tough one for me because I love the Jacksonville Jaguars situation. I just don't think it's ultimately going to play out through Etienne in the money weeks at the end of the year, where it all counts. I think that's going to ultimately be Tank Bigsby and Bashal Tutin. Travis Etienne hasn't really been efficient since 2022. He's compiled a decent amount of volume, but he lost some of that work in 2024 to Tank Bigsby. So you start to see the organization, okay, we're going to introduce this other guy if they can compete. We're not so beholden to first round draft capital from 4 or 5 years ago that we have to give Etienne this work because he's really not the same player after the injuries. Tutin looks more explosive than Etienne in my estimation. And if he can develop some of the well-rounded things that you need to be able to do as a rookie in this league, as a running back in this league, I should say, then he could easily usurp Travis Etienne as, Tutin was Gladstone and Cohen's guy, the GM and the coach. And also bring in LaQuint Allen late, who might not factor in a ton, but he is pretty pro-ready as a third down back. And some of Travis Etienne's appeal is as a third down back. Now, I still think they're going to play Etienne over LaQuint Allen because you don't want to be so predictable in what you're doing unless it's an obvious third and long situation. I think they want to keep the offense humming. So I'm not as concerned about LaQuint Allen, but Bashal Tutin has me very concerned. Also for Etienne's goal line role, I think Tank Bigsby is going to at least cut into it a decent amount of the time. He's live to get traded as well. Now, if he gets traded, I'm a little more optimistic about his upside if he goes somewhere than Brian Robinson, whereas Brian Robinson is just like a two-down grinder. He's had some explosive catches in his career, but Etienne would be a guy who if a team goes out and gets Etienne, that means they want to go get Etienne. Whereas Brian Robinson is literally physically being pushed out the door. They changed his key lock. His fob doesn't work, to get into the building. His locker has been cleared out. So Travis Etienne, if he gets moved, could still have some standalone value. So there's some hope there. But if he stays on the Jags roster, I think there's very real concern that he is not the guy later in the year. I would rather play the Jags running backs, cheaper options in Bigsby and Tutin. They're not as cheap as they once were a few weeks ago. But hey, you're drafting your home league now. Take one of the cheaper guys. And but if you go with a 0 RB build, I will say Etienne is viable in that. Some early season production in your managed leagues where you could drop him. Best ball, he could be a little bit of a trickier bet. Then last but probably least in my estimation, Cam Scatterbo. Now he's starting to fall out of this dead zone running back range. But now he's healthy, so I think he might yo-yo back up. Anyway, we'll leave him in. Cam Scatterbo runs a 4.7 140 at 219 pounds. So if you're going to run a 4.71, I want you to be 230 pounds. So people will be like, oh, well, other guys can be 4.7, have run 4.7 once and still been power backs. Yeah, they're 230 pounds. So you have to be one or the other if you're going to be either. He's an indecisive running back, in my estimation, who, when he produced against the Pac-12 defenders, slow down to set up his stiff arms, and it just didn't look translatable to me. You can't slow down against NFL linebackers, even bad ones, or NFL cornerbacks. You can't slow down to set that up because their form tackling is so much better than these college guys, let alone the Pac-12. They're like, oh, you're gonna slow down? Thank you. They're not afraid of Cam Scatterbo. They're not afraid of him at all. So I don't think his style of breaking tackles is going to translate. And if he doesn't have that, he's kind of just a third down back. He has good hands and short yardage. If you need him to get you 1 yard or 2, he can maybe pick that up because he's fearless. He runs really hard when he is not trying to set up a bigger play. If it's a clear short yardage situation, he will just full speed ahead into it. And so he's kind of Roschon Johnson in that way, in my opinion. A slightly better Roschon Johnson, which isn't a great kind of bet in my opinion. But Tyrone Tracy has way more juice. And the sneaky part of it is Terry being kind of a trusted vet. Cam Scatterbo missing half of August with injuries as a rookie. Not great for implementing himself in the offense. Now, I think he could get back up to speed. Seems like the team likes a lot of the things he does, and his aura. He's a great meme. I'll give him that. And I think he could be a functional, real-life NFL player that helps the Giants win real football games. But we're talking about fantasy football. We're talking about a guy who can get you 12, 13, 14, 15 points. I don't think Cam Scatabo is that guy who's going to do that too often. I don't think in year one he's going to consolidate work in a meaningful way. And if he can't, in his range of outcomes, barring two injuries, Singletary and Tracy, if he can't consolidate work without two injuries, then what makes him any different than Jarquez Hunter or DJ Giddens or Taj Brooks or Ollie Gordon? Like, he's a lot like those guys, and they're in arguably better offenses. The Giants' offense, not great. So you're talking about a guy who has a real tough path to. And I think some people like view this guy like, oh, he could be the worst. No, he can't. He cannot. Not at the NFL level. He has very limiting athletic limitations. This guy's not going to be a workhorse, especially this year. If you tell me over time he bulks up a little bit more without losing the speed he doesn't have to begin with, and is not so hesitant at the point of contact, then maybe he could handle. I still don't think he'd be efficient as a rusher in that regard, but I think as a rookie bet, this is way too rich. I'm not into this whatsoever. I think he should be priced around 180, pick 170, 180. Fun guy, could have a couple fun plays this year, but when we look back, I'm saying there's a 0% possibility that Cam Scatabo is the guy you needed at this price, unless there's two injuries to the Giants running backs. And if there's two injuries to the Giants running backs, well, you could say there could be two injuries in any backfield, and that applies to any third string running back. So with that said, I'm not taking Cam Scatabo, and I don't think you should either. So let me know, guys. I'm sure some of these takes are going to be controversial to some of you. I might have just highlighted one of your favorite running backs in this range. I'm into guys like Tyrone Tracy, who's now he's jumped up a bit. I'm not loving the new price of like 85. He was a lot more fun when he was pick 110. I'll tell you that. So pick 85, I'm not into it. Jordan Mason is pretty fun to me. I think Zach Charbonnet, if I'm going to make like a RB2 type bet, like give me Zach Charbonnet over Scatabo. Zach Charbonnet, I think the Seahawks are going to run the absolute crap out of the ball. Ken Walker's always getting hurt. I still like Ken Walker, the bet, a lot. But if he gets hurt, if they run as much as they do, he's very live to get hurt. And Charbonnet, we saw, he has 30-point ceiling. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, obviously a fucking smash. JCM in every draft. If you can get Bill Krosky-Merritt, the Commanders' starting running back, around pick 100 up to pick 90, do it. Do it every time. You'll win your league. No two ways about it. That might be a lot of glaze, but I'm riding the Bill hype, and you can't stop me. I'm riding it to the mountaintop. So let me know in the comments below, though, what you agree or disagree with, or what your general running back strategy is this year. I will see those comments, and I will agree with you, or I will flame you, but it'll be fun either way. And if you don't mind, hit like and subscribe if you want some more fantasy football videos before the season starts. You don't have to share it to your friends. Don't put them onto the sauce. You can hoard the sauce for yourself, but subscribe, and then when I put it out, you'll see it, and that'll be cool. So until next time, guys, peace.